And joining me to talk more on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and Civil Society parallel report on its compliance and adoption is Executive Director, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity, Dr. Umar Yakubu. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, to begin the conversation, maybe you tell us about the civil society parallel report on United Nations Convention Against Corruption.
Okay, thank you for having me once again. And the UN decided in about 2002 actually, to come together to devise a means to combating organized crime, which corruption is one of them. So countries have ratified their signatories to that convention, which is called the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. So the standard is for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes in every country to monitor compliance and implementation of that convention, which is being done in every country. So Nigeria has been assessed severally, first time in 2016 and 2019, and we have been evaluated. But the difference between intergovernmental partnerships like the UN and the Nigerian government and where civil society comes in is that civil society will come in because we have a different view of looking at these things and to see how far they have implemented these articles, which are about 65 in total. And under the convention, there are four parts. You have the criminalization and law enforcement, you have asset recovery, you have international cooperation, then you have the prevention mechanism. So what we assess now is on the prevention and asset recovery to see how well government has done.
Why prevention and asset recovery?
Yeah, prevention is, there are different articles starting from, let's say, Article 5 to about Article 14, where do you have the right agencies to combat corruption? These agencies, are they working? Are they doing what they are supposed to do? Are they preventing corruption? Are they preventing money laundering? Are they preventing illicit financial flows? And different aspects of corruption, like how you recruit your staff. That's the federal government staff, state government staff, and local government staff. Your recruitment procedure, whether you comply with fairness, equity, whether you block all the loopholes, those are all elements under the prevention mechanism. On the asset recovery mechanism is how do you prevent monies being taken from your country to the shores of other countries. You know, right now there's enough data to show that most of the flow is outwards, especially from Africa, not only Nigeria, to other parts of the world. So what are you doing to prevent the stealing in the first place before it's even taken out of the continent?
Okay, I would like you to give us an assessment based on just to those precisely the two conventions you talk about, the assets recovery, and you also talk about compliance. When it comes to access recovery, have it at the back of your mind. Just recently, Nigeria just recovered, I think, about more than $50 million. What's your assessment so far based on those two conventions?
Yeah, if you look at it from asset recovery side, what the UNODC will do is they will clap for you and actually commend you that you have recovered assets that have been taken. But we from civil society, we look at it the other way. What were you doing or not doing that the money left in the first place? How can a country, because the data now shows an estimate about $10 billion leaves the shores of Nigeria every year. So where are the banks? Where is the central bank that is supposed to be the regulator of all the deposit money banks and the Bureau de changes, because they are the major facilitators of these illicit financial flows and money laundering actually? Where are the regulators, central bank in this aspect, that kind of money went out? So that's how we look at it. Even the UN looks at it that way, I agree. But so it's not enough to recover. Stop it from happening first, so they will assess you. So as long as there's an outflow, we'll continue to score government law in that area.
Okay, what methodology was used to actually put the report together, and does it reflect international best practices? Yeah,
we actually have the UNCAC Coalition, which is the United Nations Convention Against Corruption Coalition, which is a coalition of about 350 civil society organizations all over the world. So there's a standard that was developed in conjunction with the Transparency International, with the Norway government and other development partners to set a standard for reporting parallel reports for the UNCAC implementation. That will be a civil society parallel report. So it's a standard that every country adopts. We followed it strictly to the letter.
Okay, we talk about prevention and asset recovery. Which other, I understand that there was a recommendation during the recent stakeholders engagement. Can you shed light about the recommendations?
Yeah, the recommendations are about, there are numerous, about 22 in number, but the critical ones are: one, we have to work on our political party financing, because that has been identified as a major enabler of public sector corruption and grant corruption, in the sense that INEC's role is not only to conduct elections. If you analyze their act, you find out that's basically about 20-25% of their duties that they're empowered to do. So, but the major component of that act, Electoral Act 2022, is political party regulation. They are not regulating the political parties. That's why there is so much inflow of public funds that have been pilfered from public sources and going into elections. So once that is not countered, they are going to have multiple layers of problems. That is one. The second thing we recommended, the country is currently bleeding for about 72% from procurement fraud. Most of the fraud you see that the law enforcement are dealing with are procurement related. So if you have 72%, it means the Bureau of Public Procurement is not doing what it's supposed to do. So they have to bring elements of technology. AI is coming in, and how you use this technology to reduce the speed of procurement fraud from 72%. Maybe every year you reduce it by 20%. And a simple tool is you can get an off-the-shelf online tool where every procurement, once it's done online, is transparent, and you find out that these percentages start to come down. Another thing is our recruitment system, but that I think stems from our constitution, where it is not free, it's not transparent. So you find out when you recruit the wrong persons to political or appointed positions, you find out they don't bring out their best because a criteria has not been really followed in the recruitment system.
Okay, what does this recommendation say about our laws? Because most people are worried that our laws are somehow weak to address issues of corrupt practices, that people don't actually get the deserve or punitive measures that, punishment that they're supposed to get when found wanton.
Yeah, for our laws, there are 4 issues. On the legal framework, we are doing very well, better than most countries of the world. When we come to, we have over 18 institutions that have preventive mechanisms for corruption. So we are doing very well in terms of the content of the law and its ability to do what it's supposed to do. Also, the second point is that we have the right institutions to implement that law. So what is lacking are 2 things. One, the implementation is not effective. If you say you are combating corruption, there are different elements of corruption. There is nepotism, there is procurement fraud, there is abuse of office, there is misappropriation. Okay, where is the data to show how you are reducing every element of this corruption? It's not only about stealing money. There are several elements. So that data needs to be provided so that it will show that the law is effective. Because if it's not effective, it means the law enforcement are conniving with the other people, let's say the politicians or the businessmen. That's what it usually translates to. The last thing is one of the primary things that the data show, the research shows, is that the law needs to be strengthened, especially for the EFCC, because they have recorded a high rate of the removal of the bosses of that organization. So that they clearly showed in the report that that organization is not independent enough. Because why always, out of about 18 that have preventive mechanisms, why always the EFCC being removed, their chairman always being removed? So that was highlighted in the report.
Okay, I don't know whether the conventions also talk about people that celebrate corruption or corrupt people that are corrupt and things like that. And also people that are in the anti-corruption space that, somehow don't actually, they are found wanton one way or the other.
Yeah, part of the prevention mechanism is actually on education, advocacy for attitudinal change. Now, that's a long-term problem, because just yesterday I saw a video on WhatsApp. It was a cleric that was actually praying for a baby on how she will grow up to know how to steal. So you see, this thing is going to be a long-term issue where I think we need to involve all of society, starting from our traditional leaders, our religious leaders, our teachers. But the major starting point is the home. where the parents need to start imbibing these things in our children. So there has to be attitudinal change. That is one. The second critical attitudinal change has to come from government, has to come from our leaders. If they are not displaying acts of dignity, acts of integrity, people would think that is the way to make money all over the place. Now, if you do a research, we have not done so, but ask children what do they want to become in future, you see they tend to want to become politicians. They don't know actually politics is not really a job. It should be a hobby where people have your normal business, you go into politics, you come out, but people have taken it as a job because it's an easy way of making money. Government has become the major driver of public sector corruption, unfortunately, so that's the problem we have. So we have to have an attitudinal change, of course, with the measures I explained before.
Okay, do you see the stakeholders' engagement turning things around?
Yeah, we need to keep talking. We need to keep talking as much as we can. They will tell you in the village, even if your elders are deaf, you still greet them in the morning. So we need to keep talking to them that, look, this is the data, and everything we're talking about, we're backing it up with data so that they will see what they are supposed to do. And we have recommendations, clear recommendations. Yesterday, somebody asked me, is fighting corruption easy? And I said, it's very easy. And how? I said, all it needs is for example, the major political leaders to change their attitude, and you see other people who comply. So it's actually a very simple thing to do.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Umar Yakubu. It's always a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now,